Hello and welcome. Tonight, Lionel Messi finally achieves his World Cup dream as Argentina wins their third crown on penalties following one of the greatest and most dramatic finals in the tournament's history at the Lusail Stadium in Qatar. President Muhammadu Buhari returns to Abuja after an 8-day visit to the United States for the US-Africa Leaders Summit in Washington, D.C. European Union promises support for Nigeria's conduct of peaceful, fair and credible general elections come 2023. And Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project SERAP seeks arrest and prosecution of politicians allegedly buying permanent voter cards from Nigerians. We begin with sports, and Lionel Messi has led Argentina to a stunning World Cup victory in 36 years, beating defending champions France 4-2 on penalties after an enthralling 3-3 draw over 120 minutes. Argentina captain Lionel Messi scored twice, while France striker Kylian Mbappe hit a hat-trick as a thrilling World Cup final finished 3-3 after extra time played at the Lusail Stadium. In an extraordinary night of high drama, Argentinian substitute Gonzalo Montiel stroked home the winning spot kick to seal an agonizing shootout loss for the Le Bleu of France, the defending champions. Well, France had fought back from 2-0 down and then 3-2 down in extra time to make it 3-3 to take the game to penalties. It's Argentina's first title since Diego Maradona-inspired victory in Mexico City way back in 1986. Well, the consolation for Mbappe is becoming just the second player after the England great Geoff Hurst to score a hat-trick in a World Cup final since 1966. Well, back home, President Muhammadu Buhari returned to Abuja earlier today after an 8-day official visit to Washington, D.C., the United States, where he participated in the US-Africa Leaders Summit. The president, who departed for the US event from his country home in Daura, Katsina State last Sunday, was invited to join other African leaders for the summit by his American counterpart, President Joe Biden. During the summit held in Washington, D.C., President Buhari participated in a number of high-level meetings and conversations around the US-Africa relations, speaking on critical issues affecting the Black continent, including security, climate change, transnational organized crimes, and more. President Buhari equally engaged in top-level sideline meetings as well. The president was received at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, this morning by some governors and top government officials. To electoral matters now, as Nigerians look forward to a peaceful, fair and credible elections next year, the European Union (EU) says it will provide all the needed support to achieve that intent. According to the EU, Nigeria's progress is of huge importance as partners and continental neighbors. The EU's ambassador to Nigeria, Samuela Isopi, said this after a private meeting with the Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki at the Government House in Benin City, the Edo State capital. On his part, Governor Obaseki commended the European Union for its partnership with Nigeria and subnationals like Edo State, even beyond politics.
Today it's 70 days ahead of elections, so we also try to use the opportunity of our visits to the states in Nigeria to engage with political actors and to discuss issues related to elections. And the reason is very simple. The European Union has been supporting election processes in Nigeria since the return to the civilian rule. We have consistently deployed election observation missions, and we will do the same thing for the next upcoming elections. But we also have consistently supported HINEC and other stakeholders by providing technical support, expertise, technical assistance, and this is what we are also doing right now. And I said that good elections in Nigeria, which means peaceful elections, free and fair elections, transparent elections, are not only in the interest of Nigerians and Nigeria. They are also in the interest of Europe. We are your main neighbor, We have an interest in having a strong, democratic, stable Nigeria, and that's why we have supported Nigerian democracy, and we will continue to do so.
And as you know, the EU has always supported the electionary process. They give a lot of, they send missions here to observe elections, and they have studies and reports they've done over the years on the conduct of all the elections, at least since this republic. And gleaning from those reports, they've come to check, to also see and advise the areas and what we can do to make sure that we have properly conducted, transparent, fair, and safe elections this time around. So, you know, they've come in a true spirit of partnership to come and see how we can work together, how we can support our efforts, not only at the political level, the cultural level, the issues of economy, but to just ensure that we continue to strengthen the relationship between, you know, not just Nigeria and the EU, but also subnationals within Nigeria and the EU.
In Kaduna State, governorship candidates and others seeking elective offices in the state have signed a peace agreement pledging to abide by the rules of the game and ensure a violence-free process before, during and after the elections. The peace accord, which was signed during a meeting of political parties and stakeholders, is facilitated by the State Peace Commission in collaboration with ActionAid. It is aimed at identifying practical means of achieving peaceful electioneering campaigns, elections and post-election periods.
Kaduna State, just like some other states in the country, has had a history of violence during political campaigns and elections. Of note is the 2011 post-election crisis, which led to loss of lives and property worth millions of naira. Although the 2019 election in the state was largely peaceful, the Kaduna State Peace Commission is leveraging on that to ensure that the 2023 elections are also peaceful and credible. To ensure that political parties and their candidates commit themselves to peaceful conduct in the electioneering campaigns during and after the elections, the Commission has organized this high-level meeting with stakeholders targeted at addressing the issues that pose a threat to peace and security. Among the participants here are some governors and senatorial candidates or their representatives, party officials, religious leaders and representatives of the Independent National Electoral Commission.
All these initiatives are indeed intended to create awareness, mobilize the citizenry, and provide level playing ground for peaceful campaigns and elections.
I want to assure every one of you here that the electoral umpire has all its operational capabilities in place, ranging from production and distribution of PVCs, arrival of sensitive and non-sensitive materials, logistics, training and deployment of staff, and security. All this to conduct an acceptable, free, fair, and credible election in line with global best practices.
Part of this high-level engagement is the signing of a peace accord by the candidates as a commitment towards ensuring a peaceful electoral process.
We as politicians are in this for democracy.
Speaking on the imperatives of peaceful elections and entrenching democracy in Nigeria, the Secretary General of the World Anglican Communion, Bishop Ido Farron, and the Deputy Governor of Kaduna State, Dr. Hadiza Balarabe, admonished the political actors not to overheat the polity with utterances and actions.
Religious leaders, I'm happy on this because I am one. Kodeke and I retire. Don't tell your members who to vote for. Just ask them to study each person.
As the political parties and their candidates commit themselves to peaceful conduct in the entire electioneering process, it is expected that they will abide by the pledge made to foster peace and security in Kaduna State before, during, and after the elections.
To security, the Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Magashi, retired, is asking the service chiefs to sustain the joint training program of all short service courses and trainings across the three services to enhance operational efficiency in the fight against insecurity in the country. The Defense Minister gave the charge during the combined passing out parade of 337 cadets of Direct Short Service Course 26 and Regular Course 30 of the Nigerian Defense Academy NDA in Kaduna State. He notes that the successes against insurgents and other enemies of the country recorded by the armed forces could be attributed to the enhanced synergy among the three services.
The responsibility of leading and inspiring the soldiers, as well as the airmen and women of your respective services, will be bestowed upon you. This will require you to make tough decisions in the face of adversaries. Make no mistake, you are graduating into a difficult world, one with expanding global security threats, with potential violence everywhere. Nigeria is no exception to this, as our beloved nation is grappling with various forms of violence or conflicts and agitations. To address these challenges, you will need to learn fast and adapt quickly to ever-changing operational requirements.
Those who are being called bandits today and who are challenging Nigeria's security architecture are citizens whose welfare had been neglected by successive governments. That's according to the Deputy Director General of the All Progressives Congress Presidential Campaign Council, Adams Oshiomhole. The former national chairman of the party told Channels Television's Ladi Akeredoluale on our election issues tracking program Roadmap 2023 that what his party's presidential candidate intends to do if elected next year is to make education and skills acquisition compulsory for this class of citizens.
Those we refer to as bandits, for want of proper name, are people, in my view, who the country had dehumanized as young children, denied them access to education, spread out their life begging, living from hand to mouth, order the tree, order the weather, nobody cares. They probably can't locate their parents, and now they are in their maybe late 20s, late 30s, not educated, and they have to survive. They no longer can survive on begging. Even if they want to survive on begging, those who can give arm are getting fewer, and then they decide to resort to what we now call banditry. Now, the long-term solution, as I just spoke to it, is that we must recognize that in the 21st century, we're not going to have al-Maziri as a given. That every Nigerian must be entitled to, beyond formal legality, because you have universal basic education, compulsory education. The logic of that is that if you fail, if you must have a child, you have a duty, legal duty, not moral, legal duty to ensure that that child goes to school, at least up to primary school level. That's the logic of compulsory universal basic education, which is a law. Now, as what you have said, going forward, this Al-Majiri, we need special attention. We have to clean it up. They must have access to quality Quranic education. It is their right to understand the Quran, to be able to worship according to the revelations of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. However, they also need skill to cope with the rigors of life.
And for the full interview with Comrade Adams Oshiomhole, do watch Roadmap 2023 tomorrow, Monday, December 19th at 9 p.m. right here on Channels Television. In part two, after the break, Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project SERAP seeks arrest and prosecution of politicians allegedly buying permanent voter cards from Nigerians. Join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live at Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Lionel Messi finally achieves his World Cup dream as Argentina wins their third crown on penalties, following one of the greatest and most dramatic finals in the tournament's history at the Promises support for Nigeria's conduct of peaceful, fair and credible 2023 general elections. And Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project seeks arrest and prosecution of politicians allegedly buying permanent voter cards from Nigerians. As residents of Nigerian northeast sub-region faced with Boko Haram insurgency record relative peace, survivors of the conflict are lamenting stigmatization by the general public. Other survivors who spoke to Channels Television at the forum in Damaturu, Yobe State say the stigmatization constitutes another trauma to their lives.
Some of the worst hit victims of the Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast are women and girls who were abducted by the terrorists. Some, like the Chibok schoolgirls, were forcefully married to the abductors and experienced sexual violence. After training organized by Africa for Peace Development and Empowerment, some of the female survivors who were lucky to escape from the enclave of the insurgents recount their tragic experiences.
Suna ne Agaraka, sunan kanwarsa. To shi mijin kanwata ne da kuma ya tare mana motan fasinja, motan ba na fasinja ba, shi motan yan Boko Haram ɗin. To da suka ibe mu suka kai mu cikin jeji. Ni da suka je suka zuba ma a jejin nan ban san gabar ba, ban san yamma, ban san kudu gare ba. To da yanke tambayar su mutum zai iya yiwa nan yi sallah dan ban san gabar ban san yamma ba, su nuna mu suka ce in rufe musu baki in daina musu magana.
Haka ne, gaskiya mun tsinci kanmu ne a cikin wani hali wanda mutum bai tsammanin zai dawo gida ma yi rayuwa da mutane ba. Saboda farkon abin da ya same mu, mai gidana ne je tafiya ya dawo, ya ce ya je Shirani ya san mana inda za mu je ne. To muka tafi har da anwar babana ma ta je zuwa rakiyar mu, ya ce Jigawan Dutse zai raka mu can zuwa Jigawan Dutse za mu aura. Anwar baban mu ta shiri, muka tafi tare da ita, muka tsinci kanmu a cikin Sambisa. A tsawon shekara 2 muna can, muna zama a can. To rana ɗaya da Allah fito ma'aikata suka fito da mu zuwa biyu.
These academics and members of civil society organizations are soliciting for effective sensitization of the general public on the problem of stigmatizing survivors of Boko Haram abduction. In the meantime, the European Union has empowered 50 of the survivors to be self-reliant and provided them with starter packs.
Children or boys and girls that were released from this captivity, they are facing a lot of problems, especially from the society. A kind of rejection, simply people who don't want to integrate them, they don't see them, they see them as people who are abused or something like that.
So far we have implemented different activities under this project for the past 2 years, including reintegration of women and girls survivors of gender-based violence, particularly women who were once abducted by Boko Haram and are now liberated.
These returnees are hopeful that government would enlighten the general public on the dangers of stigmatizing survivors of Boko Haram abductions and would also render assistance for the welfare and education of their children.
The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project SERAP is asking President Muhammadu Buhari to direct the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Abubakar Malami, as well as appropriate anti-corruption agencies to identify, arrest and prosecute politicians who are allegedly buying permanent voter cards from poorer Nigerians. The rights groups say those found culpable of such human rights crime should be named and shamed regardless of their political affiliations. SERAP in a letter argues that the act is a threat to fair elections and a grave violation of the Nigerian Constitution, the Electoral Act and human rights obligations. The call, according to SERAP, follows recent allegations by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, that some politicians are now buying PVCs from poorer Nigerians across the country, which was also corroborated by the Northern Elders Forum. Meanwhile, the Economic Community of West African States, Ecowas, has been engaging various stakeholders in the electoral process on their roles in next year's elections. The exercise, which held in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, is designed to feel the pulse of the political parties, the media and civil society organizations in order to chart pathways for a smooth election in the state come 2023.
This hall has representatives of the Independent National Electoral Commission's Inter-Party Advisory Council, security agencies and civil society organizations in Rivers State, here for an engagement ahead of next year's elections.
There is clear concentration of power.
The event is at the instance of the Economic Community of West African States, Ecowas, to further strengthen Nigeria's electoral system and participatory governance.
What of the response we got from stakeholders?
Head of Democracy and Good Governance at Ecowas says the body is mandated to have a response mechanism to any issues raised on their fact-finding mission.
One of the key elements that kept on coming out is what we've decided to have a response mechanism to it. And that response mechanism for ECOWAS, it's a mandatory responsibility that the ECOWAS Protocol of Democracy and Good Governance mandates the Executive President of the ECOWAS Commission, His Excellency Dr. Brume, to give a response mechanism to once we get the report of the Election Fact-Finding Mission.
Annex Head of Voter Education and Publicity in the state highlights the efforts of the Commission ahead of the elections.
We keep on based on the report of the foreign and local observers. We saw that the polling units are always very congested, and during election, management of elections will be so difficult and cumbersome. The Commission decided to enlarge the voters' access to polling units.
For other stakeholders, the unique challenges faced in conducting elections in Rivers State should be identified and handled.
There's a lot of pockets of violence or criminality that is hiding in Rivers State. I don't know if any other person has been killing, false rivalry.
We don't need to be sensational. You don't need to take sides. You have to be neutral. You have to project all sides.
In appreciation of ECOWAS' interest in Nigeria's democracy, the participants promised to help realize the aspiration of free, fair, and credible elections in Rivers State.
In Taraba State, youth under the aegis of Nigerian Network for the Promotion of Rule of Law have staged a protest demanding unconditional release or fair trial of persons arrested by the police for alleged political rascality in the state. The youth in their numbers are accusing the police and the state government of conniving to arrest supporters of other political parties and keeping them behind bars for bailable offences.
More than 2 months ago, the police in Taraba State arrested and charged to court some youths alleged to have been involved in instigating pre-election violence in the state. These protesters from the southern zone take to the streets of Jalingo, the state capital, to demand for the release or trial of those arrested. They say there have been several attempts to bail the accused, but this has yielded no positive results.
We're actually here to demand that good governance be deeply entrenched, 1. 2, we're demanding that whoever that is arrested, people like Yon JP, people like Meshach, people like Isamaji, Mr. Zozo, Ayodele, and others, be either released or we undergo the full scale of fair trial of the law. A situation where people are incarcerated without fair trial or without trial, it's something that causes for worry.
The state governor, Darius Ishaku, represented by the secretary to the government of the state, receives the protesters at the government house and denies any involvement in the arrest of the youths. He, however, asks the protesters to table their grievances to the police.
Sometimes making a lot of noise that are empty will not solve the problem. But when you discuss, you find a solution to it. You find a way out. And we see how we can now mellow down this problem.
The police, on the other hand, say they arrested the youths and the case is before a court of competent jurisdiction for adjudication.
After this investigation, a prima facie case of criminal conspiracy, inciting disturbance and mischief was established against him and other cohorts of his that were on run. And the command left no option than to charge the case to court. As I'm telling you now, the case has been charged to court. The suspect now has been charged to court while the command is seriously on run or manhunt to arrest those that escaped, or his cohorts that were not arrested at the point of that action.
Some residents of the state are appealing to relevant authorities and civil society organizations to intervene and ensure the rule of law is followed in this matter to avoid a breakdown of law and order.
Anambra State Governor Professor Chukwuma Soludo has made a case for a need for former governors to serve as a pool of advice for incumbent governors. Professor Soludo believes this is important so as to avoid repeating errors and saving effort and meager resources on development. The governor was speaking during his visit to his immediate predecessor, Chief Willie Obiano, at his country home in Aguleri, Anambra East Council. He goes on to commend the former governors on some of his projects, particularly the Anambra Airport.
This government in Anambra is after government. It is an after government. And the government which you happen to be instrumental in making sure that it came to be. And we've come to say Happy Christmas to you. Like I said, this is the way we would like it to be. That as the former governor of the state, that it will take a college of former governors, leaders, to be able to put us on the path. I mean, the state needs you. The country needs you. Your wealth of experience, what you've gone through, and like you are asking them to give advice to us, we'll also be counting on you to grab the phone anytime and say, hey, I'm not quite sure this is doing right. Why don't you take left or take right? So we're counting on you. And we wish that the other former governors, that at some point we'll begin to have a college of former governors to guide the incumbents.
On his part, Chief Obiano, who spoke mostly in Igbo language, rallied support for his successor, whom he said needs a lot of it. He encouraged those close to the state governor to offer advice irrespective of what it may cost them.
We need to support the governor. Thirdly, it's very important because you will benefit from the advice. You know, I did benefit from most of my critics. You know, focusing there with Nab and China,
To infrastructure development now, the Managing Director of the Northeast Development Commission, NEDC, Mohammed Al-Khali Baba, says that the North is gradually witnessing the developmental objectives for which the Commission was established by President Muhammadu Buhari. The NEDC boss was speaking during the flag-off of the construction of roads and other projects in Adamawa State. According to him, the projects are born from the significant intervention that the Commission is executing as part of its mandate.
Garkida is one of the communities devastated by insurgency in Gombe local government area in northern Adamawa State, sharing boundary with Borno State and the much talked about Sambisa forest. Normalcy has since been restored and the people are picking the pieces of their lives. As part of its mandate towards recovery, reconstruction, stabilization and sustainable development of the Northeast region, the NEDC flags off the construction of a 32-kilometer road linking Garkida in Gombe local government area to Dabna Hong local government area of Adamawa State. The full complement of the NEDC management and officials of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management and that of the Adamawa State government are here to flag off the 32-kilometer Garkida to Dabna road at the cost of over 6 billion naira. The people are excited as the managing director joins their dancing troupe as they celebrate. Community leaders lament the non-existence of roads as a major challenge for these Boko Haram terrorist-infested community.
By constructing this road now, you are opening up. But as it is, if they want to approach this road, it depends on the preparedness of the people to combat them. You can see them from far. So this is a development which we welcome, honestly.
In his remarks, the managing director of the NDLEA states that the road will open up the communities, just as the representatives of the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs speak on the significance of the project executed in the area.
With these projects and others listed earlier, it's evident that the Commission is primed to deliver all-season motorable roads and improve mobility and connectivity of this area and others in the state and North East Zone in general.
The federal government is focused on promoting social inclusion, disaster risk reduction, local production of goods and services, and other practices that will enhance socio-economic activities.
The governor of Adamawa State, Umaru Fintiri, represented by his deputy, Crowder Seth, applaud the initiative of the NDLEA and the federal government in these interventions.
The government of Adamawa State, they are really appreciating the Northeast Commission and the federal government for bringing this type of project to the communities of Garkida and on local government.
The high point of the event is the flagging off of the construction of the Garkida-Dabna Road by the Minister for Humanitarian Affairs by her representative. Other ongoing projects inspected in the state include the Mega ICT Center in Song, the 2.5-kilometer road, and the College of Education Hong, electrification projects, among others.
Meanwhile, any lasting solution to the security challenge in the northeast region of Nigeria must include the training and empowerment of the youth. This is according to the Managing Director of the Northeast Development Commission, Mohammed Al-Kali, who was speaking during the graduation ceremony of 150 youth trained by Moma's Metering School in Ogun State after a 3-month training. He was represented at the event by the Deputy General Manager, Education of the Northeast Development Commission. The chairman, CEO of Moma's Group, Engineer Kola Balogun, expressed readiness of the institution to help accommodate more candidates, particularly due to the support he's getting from the German government.
As part of his effort to tackle the challenge of unemployment and address the insecurity in the Northeast Development Commission decided to invest in its young population. One of its strategies of doing this is sending them to be trained in this institution, Moma's Metering School, believed to be the only such institution across the country.
Basically, we have a lot of out-of-school unemployed youth in the Northeast as a result of the insurgency mainly. And so with the Commission coming on board, it's part of our mandate to empower them, give them means of livelihood so that they can support themselves and strengthen the Northeast as well.
150 of them from the 6 states in the region are taken through trainings in electricity meter installation, solar installation, and more.
Really, integrity, professionalism, and of course teamwork, because they will be exposed to all kinds of collaborations.
What we are also looking at on the long run is that a school like Moma should be replicated in the 6 geopolitical zones of the country.
The brain behind the institution underscores the need for such investment in the youth, particularly as it will provide ready jobs for graduates, irrespective of their formal education or qualification.
The challenges confronting us across the country is a lot of youth unemployed, and it's a threat to our sustainability. So we need to encourage or advise virtually all the agencies across the country to empower, to set aside some certain fund out of their corporate social responsibility to train youth that are in need of a particular professional line or skill.
The beneficiaries are upbeat about the long-term benefits of this exercise.
I can do meter installation, I can do solar installation, and I can do electrical house wiring. So I learned so many things about not only skills,
It's also signed an agreement with the Southwest Minnesota State University for accelerated MBA with adult education system, which runs for 12 months.
So with our MBA, it's going to be only 12 months. Instead of doing it for 2 years, we just provide them to do online accelerated MBA.
Every year since 2018, Mama's Military School has trained at least 300 people, with a total of 1,200 of them trained so far.
The Ovie Brume Foundation is planning to redouble efforts at helping every child achieve their goals as the foundation clocks 20 years. Speaking at the 20th anniversary of the foundation, the executive director, Brume, explains that they are charged to support more youth to achieve a great nation.
It's a gathering of dignitaries for a double celebration by the Ovie Brume Foundation, who died from ill health. First is the opening ceremony of the foundation's new center in Surulere, Lagos, and the 20th anniversary of the Ovie Brume Foundation.
We are making future leaders, for our country. It's very important that we do the work. It's important to give. It's important to give. It's very important to give, and we're giving very wisely, I feel. We need help. We need your support. We need your continuous support. So I am reaching out to you.
The late Brume's mother, Evelyn Oputu, recounts her experience over the tragic incident, which she says can never be forgotten.
What happened that day was I lost it. I lost the will to live. I didn't wish to live anymore. I think any parent who's here who has a child knows what would not. I don't want you to understand what it feels like to love the way I love my son, but I lost the desire to stay alive. But I'm standing here today for two reasons. Because of the love that I got from my family, my children, my 3 daughters are here, from my daughters and from my friends.
The Catholic Archbishop of Lagos, His Grace Adewale Martins, and Mrs. Bola Obasanjo led other guests to commission the new edifice, which will serve, develop and support young people to fulfill their potentials and give back to the communities.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen. I joined the Ovie Brume Foundation in the year 2004 as a bright 14-year-old girl in need of direction. And today I'm glad to stand here to recount a phase in my life for which I'm very much grateful to Mama Evelyn Oputu.
I've always been part of the foundation, and I'll always be part of the foundation. And my dream has always been to always give back.
No doubt, Ovie Brume lives on as the foundation connects with his ideas of advancing Nigeria by developing the youth through harnessing their talents and skills.
Over to Gombe State, where the state governor, Inuwa Yahaya, says his administration is putting in place measures to tackle the menace of out-of-school children in the state. Mr. Yahaya reiterated this at the commissioning of the Gwoni Sani Sangaya School, which will cater for the educational needs of the Almajiri children within the catchment area, who would be taught secular subjects in the morning and Quranic recitations in the evening.
Governor Inuwa Yahaya of Gombe State and the Sultan of Sokoto are here in continuation of his administration's promise to tackle the menace of out-of-school children in northern Nigeria. According to the United Nations, there are about 700,000 children out of school in Gombe State alone. This is the figure that the state government hoped to reduce through the Better Education Service Delivery for All scheme, which see the integration of the Almajiri system into regular education system while leveraging on technology.
Gombe State government under my leadership, aligned with the Federal Ministry of Education through the Universal Basic Education Commission, with the support of the World Bank, to fund this project, which is BESDA, Basic Education and Service Delivery for All. BESDA will not be complete until we are able to uplift all those children that are out of school, that have no means to go to school, and that cannot go to school for so many reasons.
The project is a delight to the Sultan of Sokoto, who urges all Muslim scholars to take advantage of it because of its relevance in the 21st century.
I remember I promised him to come and perform at least one event in his first term. And when he told me about this, I said, this is a very, very important project which I have so much interest in because it educates our children. So I did not hesitate to accept his invitation and came down this morning to do this job. And not just to do the job, but to be with my friends and brothers and colleagues.
Meanwhile, the governor has signed into law the 2023 appropriation of 173,697,242,000 naira. He described the 2023 budget as a collaborative approach between the executive and the legislature.
Another industrial action may be looming in the health sector, as the Nigerian Medical Association has threatened a sit-at-home action if medical doctors are continuously kidnapped, especially while in the line of duty. Arising from its three-day National Executive Council meeting in Asaba, the Delta State capital, the president of the association, Uche Ojima, condemned the progressive kidnap of medical doctors across the country. He's also calling on the Borno State governor to step up efforts to secure the release of Dr. Gaidam Bulama, who has been in captivity for 9 months now. Well, the enemy president is also asking doctors in Abia to remain on strike over their 24-month unpaid salaries.
When you hit a dog, it will protect itself by biting you. Is that not a protection? If the doctor is being kidnapped every time, like Dr. Gaidam, you know what, from March till now, he's in captivity. He has a family. I think our government should do whatever is necessary to secure his release. If not, Nigerian doctors will come together and decide to sit at home. We are not on strike. We just don't want to be kidnapped. So we will sit quietly in our houses and lock our doors. It is an anomaly and atrocious that the government will owe her workers for 24 months and think it is normal for them to continue to work. The NEC hereby directs all doctors in Abia State to remain on strike. If any doctor breaks the strike in Abia State, they shall be properly dealt with according to dictates of our constitution. We call on the government to realize that the joke is over. They're not going to continue smiling. They're not going to walk away and leave the doctors with another government that will say we don't owe them. No. If you hire me, you pay me.
Staying with the health sector, medical consultants are still worried over the growing number of patients with VVF, that's vesicovaginal fistula cases, which doctors say are acquired through cesarean sections. This indication confirms the concerns over unskilled birth attendants in health facilities, especially in local communities. Our correspondent Hajara Aliyu tells us more.
These women are passing through one of the most distressing moments of their lives as they recover from vesicovaginal fistula. The National Obstetric Fistula Center in Mingi, Bauchi State carries out another round of free quarterly repairs supported by the Northeast Development Commission in collaboration with the Fistula Foundation.
About 50 patients here in this ward have just undergone the fistula surgery, and more are still coming. Some of the cases here are congenital, others are acquired. And most of the women we have spoken to here tell us that they are still confronted with the problem of discrimination and stigma.
Aishata's husband left her because of her condition. She has had 12 failed surgical repairs elsewhere. This is her 13th attempt. She hopes it would be her last. In Bilkis's case, obstetric fistula was triggered following prolonged obstructed labor.
When I went for a scan, they said the baby is 4.8.
So I told the doctor I could not make, please, they should operate me. The doctor said, no, you already had 4, you can do it. I said, no. He said, I can do it. That's how we continue almost, I think, 3 to 4 days. Later on, they decided to take me into theater. When we were about going into the theater, that's when the baby just came out.
Dorothy came all the way from Adamawa. She's only 10 and was never married. Her mother says she noticed her condition from birth, and this has affected her education. Records at the center also show that some fistulas were caused by harmful practices. Recall, this 6-year-old who contracted the ailment following female genital mutilation.
You know, one thing I'm trying to do.
The medical director of the center says the success rate of surgical procedures is 90%.
Quite gratifying to see the smiles on the face of these patients after they have been attended to, because some of them have actually given up hope that they will get repaired. Some don't even know that there is treatment for this condition.
Chief Surgeon Dr. Saad Idris says 90% of the repairs in recent times are from cesarean sections.
You should understand that BBF is not a normal surgical procedure. It's always a damage control. So if you see one today, and you see in the next minute you see another one, they are not the same.
There are other emerging issues and complications around fistula, the experts worries. There is still much to be done to improve sensitization and awareness. Hajara Aliyu, Channels Television News.
Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the NDLEA, have recovered about 1.7 million pills of tramadol hidden in packs of noodles at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport. In another sting operation by NDLEA operatives, over 600 pills of tramadol, 225 milligrams en route from Karachi, Pakistan, on Ethiopian Airlines flight were also intercepted at the Sako import shed of the Murtala Mohammed Airport. In a related development, a trader at Balogun Market in Lagos was arrested over his attempt to export a tramadol consignment to Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. Meanwhile, operatives of the NDLEA intercepted a truck and a bus conveying 113 bags of cannabis sativa weighing 4,802.84 kilograms around the VGC estate area of Ajah, with 3 suspects arrested. Furthermore, NDLEA operatives also made arrests in Kano State, where 26 kilograms of cannabis concealed inside packs of blenders were thwarted. Another 1,980 bottles of cough syrup with codeine concealed in cartons were seized along the Abuja to Kaduna Express Road. And now to the arts. The exhibition is a solo show by contemporary artist Esho Ayodele in Lagos. This multi-talented creative shows his recent body of works which explore various issues, and we see it on Art Review tonight.
The exhibition, The Mind of a Creative, is what Esho Ayodele, a versatile creative artist, ex-professional footballer and photographer, is showing at his solo show in Lagos.
Derived that title being vastly creative and multidimensional with my skills. I do photography, I do visual arts, I write poetry, I do photojournalism and storytelling with my photography. So it's a bit different from the regular things that you just see out there. So it's Mind of the Creative because it's very vast. It comes in different forms, different ways. It could be real life, right in time pictures. It could be nature photography, has to do with traveling, animals, locations, destinations, just the beauty of life in general.
The self-taught artist enjoys painting mostly abstract and contemporary art majors in abstract expressionism inspired by Jackson Pollock.
I feel like art is another way of therapy. you know, it's mind refreshing, mind relieving, because there's a lot going on in our society right now. So a lot of people are depressed, a lot of people are very unhappy, many reasons why. So I feel like my art can, you know, inspire you, motivate you, or just, you know, set you free from a lot of stress going on in the world right now.
His pictures show the beauty of nature and lifestyle.
I would say they're very original. They are masterpieces. They remind you of nature. They're very rich, and once you look at them, it gives you a feeling of nature, originality, and quality. So I think it will go very far, because this is the first of its kind. You see some artworks that look like what you've seen before, but this ones are absolutely different and very original.
This artist holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Lagos and owns a fashion line.
Well, outside our shores, Chinese epidemiologist Wu Junyu says he believes China is experiencing the first of 3 expected waves of COVID infections this winter. The country has seen a surge in cases since the lifting of its most severe restrictions earlier this month. But today, the government reported only 2,097 new daily cases. Wu says he believes the current spike in infections will run until mid-January, while the second wave will then be triggered by mass travel in January around the week-long Lunar New Year celebrations, which begin on January 21st. And millions of people usually travel at this time to spend the holiday with family. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa is in a tight party leadership race against Zweli Mkhize, the former minister whom he forced to resign amid corruption allegations. Both candidates are fighting for the support of some 4,426 delegates, as the winner will lead the party. Before the conference, Mr. Ramaphosa has been the target of calls for his resignation over the alleged cover-up of the theft of a sizable amount of foreign currency found in his private farm. While the former health minister was forced to leave office last year after allegations emerged that a communications company linked to his family benefited from a contract at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, which he has denied any wrongdoing. As supporters of candidates running for the party's presidency and other 6 top seats have been involved in intense lobbying ahead of the vote, which is expected to be completed later. Welcome to Sports News and more from the FIFA World Cup in Qatar, which ended today. Lionel Messi has indeed won the Golden Ball for the best player at this year's tournament after leading his country Argentina to victory in the final against Les Bleus of France. Kylian Mbappe came second to Messi for that award, but did win the Golden Boot for the tournament's top scorer with 8 goals, 1 ahead of the Argentine skipper. Luka Modric came third in the running for the best player after helping Croatia finish third. Meanwhile, Argentina's Emiliano Martinez took the Golden Glove for the World Cup's best goalkeeper, while his compatriot Enzo Fernandez, who is 21 years of age, was named the best young player. Meanwhile, Argentina football fans erupted into wild celebration after their team beat France 4-2 in that penalty shootout, winning the World Cup for the 3rd time in their history. The fans were overjoyed as they embraced friends and strangers, cheering for the team during a dramatic match, delivering one of the all-time great finals to cap a wonderful tournament. Thousands of people gathered at a fan zone in the capital, Buenos Aires, to watch Argentina's World Cup upset over France on a big screen and broke into wild jubilation. The final win cements Messi's status as a legend among Argentines, with the match expected to be his last appearance in a World Cup for the Albiceleste. England football legend Geoff Hurst says he had enjoyed a good run after France's Kylian Mbappe became just the 2nd player after the England great to score a hat-trick in the World Cup final. Hurst had stood alone for 56 years as the only player to score 3 goals in the showpiece match, with his treble central to England's 4-2 extra-time win over the then West Germany at Wembley in 1966. But his feat was equalled when Mbappe's treble helped France fight back from 2-0 down and then 3-2 behind at the Lusail Stadium, as the final finished level at 3-3 after extra time. And the main news again. Lionel Messi has finally achieved his World Cup dream as the Albiceleste of Argentina won their third crown on penalties, following one of the greatest and most dramatic finals in the tournament's history, played at the Lusail Stadium in Qatar. Kylian Mbappe finished as top scorer with 8 goals. And that's the news at 10. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. From all of us here, it's good night.